Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, as the case may be. My name is Dr. Babangida Ladan from the Department of Adult Education and Community Services. I will be taking you GSP 2205 Philosophy and Logic, and in the course I will be taking MOD1, which is concerned about meaning, origin, and scope of philosophy. On the meaning, we shall be talking about the literal meaning, about the layman's meaning and the conceptual meaning of the concept of philosophy. And then on the origin, we should be briefly be talking about the origin of the concept and then origin of the practice of philosophy. And on the scope, we should be talking about the areas of coverage of philosophy, because philosophy is as old as man. Now, the concept of philosophy is derived from two Latin words, philo and sophia. These two words are Greek words. Philo means love, while Sophia means wisdom. So literally, we can say that philosophy means love of wisdom, or search of wisdom, or search for the truth. Usually, man engages himself in looking for reasons or truth about a particular phenomenon. And if you are doing so, you will be called a philosopher. And philosophy gives comprehensive view of life and help man to search into the true nature of things. So philosophy is therefore about asking fundamental questions about existence, about knowledge, about values, about reason, about mind, about language. So you can see here that philosophy is all about doing away with dogma. We don't want a person to just be dogmatic. We want every person to know the reason why things are happening the way they do. And this is what we call philosophy. Layman also have his own meaning of philosophy, and there are popularly three notions of philosophy. The first group of people of laymen sees philosophy as words of wisdom, and here they are referring to words of elders, because usually elders talk with some dignity, talk from experience, and whatever they say, it is seen as being true, and that's why some people see philosophy as words of wisdom. Secondly, some group of people also see philosophy as a way of life. Generally, every person will have a philosophy. So the way of life of a person is his own philosophy. And like I said, every person must have his own way of life, and that defines his philosophy. And another group will also see philosophy as a group of ideas. That is, ideas that some people come together to discuss and find out as true. For example, the religion. We can have philosophy of religion. This is arising from the group of ideas. So these are the three notions of the layman. Now, contextually, the meaning of philosophy is that philosophy is that department of knowledge which deal with ultimate reality and with the most general causes and principles of things. It is presumed here that science does not tell us so much. It doesn't tell us how. It doesn't tell us why. Science will just tell us how, but philosophy will tell us why. That is, why do things happen the way they happen? So philosophy goes beyond science by looking higher and looking for more ultimate reasons and causes and principles of things that are revealed to us. This is the contextual. There are basically two different forms of activity that we undergo in the name of philosophy. The first one is that we undergo essentially rational, critical, and logical analysis in a broad sense. And the second one is openly hostile and rational analysis and professes to derive general conclusions by fundamental intuitions. The first one is saying that we should be rational in our thinking, we should be critical, we should ask questions, we should answer questions. But the second one is saying that we group our ideas in a particular thing and then come up with a general conclusion. So there is a close relationship between philosophy and wisdom. And the best way to generate wisdom, like I said, is by asking questions, is by answering questions, and by raising arguments. The best way to get wisdom is by doing these three things. So as a philosopher, you should be ready to ask questions. As a philosopher, you should be ready to answer questions. You should also be ready to raise argument, reasonable argument that will bring out answers to why things happen the way they happen. There are three modes of philosophy or styles. The first one is called speculative philosophy. The second one, prescriptive philosophy. The second one is analytic philosophy. Let's look at them one by one. The first one, speculative philosophy, is the kind of philosophy that is developed through speculations. Naturally, we have human beings that are very speculative. We have speculative husbands, speculative wives, speculative friends, speculative parents, speculative children, and whatever. This group of persons start their own proof for the truth or evidence. They start looking for evidence through speculation. And that is why speculative philosophy is the attempt to find out coherence in the whole realm of thought and experience. In short, speculative philosophy is saying that knowledge generation begins with suspicion. Some people start their knowledge generation by being suspicious. For example, someone will just reach into conclusion that the lady in front of the class captain's car must be his girlfriend. So if the class captain hears this, he tries to clarify himself, and through this, knowledge is generated. The second one is prescriptive philosophy. This is the kind of philosophy that have reasons around religion, culture, and values. That is, there must be things that are good or bad, right or wrong, beautiful or ugly. But this good or bad, right or wrong, are subjective, are defined by the person using them. So here we are saying that this kind of philosophers have reason for everything, but these reasons are arising from religion, culture, or some values. In some cultures, it is good to urinate while standing, while it is bad in some cultures. It is right to shake a female's hand in some cultures, while it is wrong in some cultures. Like I said, these are subjective, and it depends on the person doing the philosophy. So what we are saying here is that philosophy, this group of philosophers see reason for everything from the religion, culture, or values. Thank you. Let's see the next. The last one is called analytic philosophy. This is the kind of philosophy where people generate knowledge by asking questions. Some people are too inquisitive. They ask too many questions about courses, about mind, about academic freedom, about quality of opportunities. People ask questions if they want to generate knowledge. Let me give you a story. As you see me, I am an analytic philosopher. So sometimes in 2020, I was taking a taxi from Yankaba to Bayero University. When I get into the taxi, I met a guy by my side talking to a lady by his side. They were talking all throughout the journey. We came to a point that the guy wants to drop. He talked to the taxi driver. The driver stopped, and as the guy was trying to go out of the vehicle, he turned to the lady and said, "I love you." And she also turned to him and said, "I love you too." And he shut the door and we kept moving. Because I'm inquisitive and I'm very analytic, I now asked the lady, "My sister, when have Kano girls turned so cheap like this?" She said, "No, sir, I'm not being very cheap." But I said, do you know this guy that just went out? She said, "No, sir, I just met him in the taxi." Ah, you met a guy in the taxi, you don't know him, he said, "I love you," and you turned to him and said, "I love you too?" By this, to me, you are being cheap. She said, "No, sir." The reason why I responded the way I responded is because I see "I love you" as a question. So if you want to, so every question must have an answer, deserves an answer. So when he said "I love you," I felt I should give him an answer. So I just said, "I love you too." So you can see from this narration, I am generating some knowledge. But by how? By asking questions. If not, I will just reach a conclusion that this guy is a boyfriend of this lady. But unfortunately, when I did my inquiry, I found out that they just met in the taxi and she was just responding to him because that is her own philosophy. Now, what is the origin of philosophy? Philosophy was believed to be born in Greece, and that's why majority of the terms are in Latin. And the term philosophy the term also has its root in Greece and in Greek language, which is the Latin language. It is quite common. Like I said in the second slide, I said it is a combination of philia and sophia, meaning love or wisdom. But sophia, as you see, is much wider than the modern wisdom, because it asks a lot of questions. And wherever intelligence can be exercised, we can have intelligence everywhere. But in practical affairs, in the mechanical arts, there is room for wisdom. Like, for example, the way the mechanic is able to mend the car is beyond wisdom. It has given room for some sophia. Now, it is also believed that Pythagoras was the first to describe himself as a philosopher. This person, Pythagoras, he seeks to classify people into three categories of people, and he has a simulation of a festival. He said there is a group of people who seek fame by taking part in the festival. Then second, there are a group of people that seek fame, that seek to gain by playing their trade. And there are others that are ordinary spectators. For example, if you have a football match, some are the players. Some are there to sell whatever they want to sell. Others are there to just watch the game. So Pythagoras classified the whole world into these three categories of people. Philosophers seem to be in the third category of people. That is, they are spectators. They will be by the side, but they will be asking questions, they will be answering questions, but they will be raising argument. So Pythagoras distinguished Sophia by the knowledge based. He said Sophia is knowledge based on contemplation, and it can be from the practical skewness of the businessman and the trade skill of the athlete. Another philosopher of importance is Plato. He gives a few characteristics of philosophical wisdom, such as ability to enter into critical discussion, having direct access to true reality, knowledge, and purpose of life. As evident from the above, although philosophy is etymologically defined as love of wisdom, the meaning of wisdom is more sense. Now, the origin. Aristotle is another philosopher that called philosophy as the first and last science. To him, philosophy is the first science because it is logically presupposed by every other science, meaning that we started philosophy before any other science. And it is the last science because it deals with reality in its ultimate principles and causes. Aristotle therefore defined philosophy as a science which investigates being or being, and the attributes which belong to this individual and his own nature. So he is trying to find out the being of being. Why are you the way you are? Now, this is not the same in any so-called special sciences. For example, in the biology, they will be talking about your sense organs and whatever. They will not be concerned about movement. They will be leaving that to physics. So, but philosophy is being general about a person. He is trying to find out, investigate the being of being. So they cut off a part of being and investigate the attributes of the. Now the scope of philosophy. By relating philosophy to wisdom, we have already implied that the scope of philosophy cannot be put within precise boundary. So the scope of philosophy is very wide, and it keeps on widening as we continue searching for reasons, searching for wisdom. Therefore, the philosophy embraces the whole of reality. So anything about the search of reality is called philosophy. It's within the framework of philosophy. But although philosophy claims to consider everything in general and nothing in particular, we can still point out some few areas that are separate and typically philosophical. So we are going to look at some of the areas within the framework of philosophy. Let's take a glance of this area. The Western philosophy describes philosophy into 6 branches. They are the metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and logic. There are others that we are not very concerned about in this course, so we are going to restrict ourselves to this. Metaphysics is derived from a Greek word meta and physica, where meta means after, while physica means physics. So literally, metaphysics is beyond physics. That is, it is going beyond what physics can provide for us. It is pertaining to subjects such as substance, identity, and nature of the mind. And at times, it is also concerned about the free will. In a study of nature, the nature of reality, and the nature of the will of the world in human lives, metaphysics is generally concerned with basic causes and nature of things. It deals with laws that govern the physical world. It describes what is beyond physics. If you see the aeroplane is a product of physics, so we are saying that philosophy can investigate, or metaphysics can investigate more than how we came about the aeroplane. So it is beyond physics. The next one is epistemology. This is a branch of philosophy that is concerned about the source of knowledge. And it is also from a Greek word. Episteme meaning logic, and logos meaning word, study, or speech. So it is a belief of epistemology that every knowledge has some source, every knowledge has some scope, and every knowledge has some nature. So the study of this origin, scope, and nature of knowledge is called epistemology. That is why we have philosophy in all aspects. We can have philosophy of religion, where a philosophy of religion will be objective. He will be objective because he will ask so many questions and he will develop some wisdom in it. And in the philosophy epistemology, we have deductive and inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning perceives a particular statement to a general statement. This reasoning is mostly utilized in scientific researches, while in deductive reasoning, it starts from general to particular places. For example, you can conclude that all short men are arrogant, for example, when you are referring to a particular case. But in the inductive reasoning, you can say the class captain is arrogant. He is arrogant because he is short. So you are starting from simple to complex. That is inductive. But when you are starting from general to specific, you are doing deductive reasoning. And that is all part of epistemology. Now the next one. Ethics. This is described as the study of morality. It's the study of what is good and bad. And like I said in the previous slide, that the good or bad are determined by the culture, by the religion, and by other social norms. So in this ethics, there are some group of philosophers that are concerned about what is good, what is bad. They are concerned about morality. And in this category, we have three categories. We have meta-ethics, which is involved about the source of our ethical principle. Why do we get the ethical principles? The second one is the normative philosophy, which is concerned about the common activities taking place around the individual. Then the last one is applied ethics, which is more practical. That is, how practical do we greet in our respective languages and whatever. Let's see the last one. The last one is called logic. It is also a Greek word from the word logos, originally meaning the word or what is spoken. So language is a word or what is spoken. But coming to mean thought or reasoning is most often said in the study of argument. So logic is the study of correct reasoning. However, the subject is grounded, the task of the logician is the same. In the course of this lecture, some of the lecturers will teach you so much about logic. So I will not say so much about it. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you good luck in your exams and in your future endeavors. I remain Dr. Babangida Ladan of the Department of Adult Education and Community Services.